Yo, what up, everybody? Welcome back to the show. It's your boy Kenny, bringing you guys another installment of the Fandom Frequency Show, baby. Fandom Frequency Show, where it's the long form podcast. We get into multiple topics and pop culture, what we've been up to, shooting the shit, anything like that. We talk about it all here, and this is the 21st episode, guys. We've been doing this thing for a little while now. Make sure you click that like and subscribe button. You know it helps the show out immensely. I've said it a million times over. You guys know the deal. More cowbell, hashtag more cowbell. Hit the bell button on the YouTube. Don't you ever miss a notification going straight into your feed every time we drop another piece of content on the channel, another episode of the Fandom Frequency Show, etc. But with no further ado, let's get it right into this thing, man. And, before we do, actually, I want to say much love to all the people that have been showing so much love to the channel, liking, commenting, subscribing to the channel. We're getting close to 50 subscribers. We're getting comments and likes on almost every video we've been uploading lately. Thank you so much, guys. It truly means the world. Thank you so much. And with no further ado, let's get into this thing. And we're going to be starting this off with a little bit of that what's the word pop culture news, baby. All the big news coming into the pop culture world. No matter what corner of the fandom multiverse it's coming from, we will discuss it. We pick a few of the most relevant and exciting topics that we want to talk about. And today, we're going to start that off with none other than Sylvester Stallone, the legend himself, Rocky, Rambo, Expendables, you name it. He's a legend, a living legend. Sylvester Stallone has coming back on Amazon Prime with his latest movie called Samaritan. Now, this movie looks pretty damn interesting. It's actually about a former superhero who has retired and went into hiding to conceal his true identity of being this hero called Samaritan. And the director of this actually did some pretty cool films back in recent years. Julius Avery is his name. He did one of my favorite films of 2018 or 2019. What was that? 2018, Overlord. Almost like a war zombie movie. Very excellent, very good stuff. He also did a couple other films, Son of a Gun, Jerry Can, never seen those, but his previous film, Overlord, was a blast, and I had so much fun with that, man. And this one is going to be dropping on August 26th. On Amazon Prime, and it looks really good, man. It actually has a lot of heart to it and a lot of that gritty kind of tone that I was kind of hoping for in a premise of a movie of this nature. So it is really interesting looking, and I'm definitely going to check it out when it drops here in about a month from the recording of this video, funny enough. So yeah, man. And so you see him going through his daily struggles, and he ends up getting ran over by a car, and that's how he's introduced to the kid that he ends up befriending in this film. And the kid knows about the history of the Samaritan, and he's actually kind of a fan of his and wants to inspire him to get back out there and to, fight the crime that's going on and is going rampant in the city, Gotham style. And, things have gotten really bad in the 25 years since he's been gone. And he's believed to have been dead as well. So that's very interesting. And I'm very interested to see how all of that is going to play out going forward in this film. But it's going to be very interesting to say the least, man. And I'm looking forward to it. I always love seeing actors, especially like legends and kind of elder statesmen of the game, kind of switch up what they're known for and do something similar to their wheelhouse, but at the same time, also do something a little fresh and different in the superhero realm, but in an original way, in a different way, in a more grounded way. And I'm very interested to see how much of his acting chops and the dramatic side of the role is really going to come out here for Sylvester Stallone, for Sly Stallone. I'm a big fan of his. And in the big him versus Schwarzenegger debate, I think I would take him just by a razor thin hair, man. Even though I do enjoy a lot of the Schwarzenegger flicks, you know what I'm saying? But I love me some Sylvester Stallone, so it's going to be cool to see what he brings to this. And the kid looks really good in this movie as well. Not really familiar with him, but it'll be interesting to see what the young kid brings to this thing. But I'm rooting for Julius Avery to make a really kick-ass movie with this, and we're definitely going to have a review for it here on the channel. So make sure you stay tuned around the end of August, leading into September. We should have that up for you guys. But it's dropping August 26th on a Thursday or Friday, I believe. Amazon Prime, if you're not subscribed, borrow that password, do whatever you got to do. But make sure you go out and check that flick out, man, when you get a chance on a day off or whatever. And for some of you youngins, you ain't got no excuse. You got the time. Hop on it and check out a living legend himself and something a little different and a little more original, y'all. And yeah, so we're gonna keep this pop culture news train moving along here because we got some more Marvel news, man. MCU just don't quit, baby. Right after Comic-Con weekend, we're literally 72 to like 96 hours from, 96 hours ago, we got the big Phase 4 through Phase 6 announcement at Hall H from the Marvel Studios, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And there's more big news, guys, because as we know, the culmination of Phase 6 is going to be a two-parter, Avengers 5, Avengers 5, aka Avengers, the Kang Dynasty, dropping in May of 2025. And then we got Avengers Secret Motherfucking Wars dropping in November of 2025, which is going to be close to my 31st birthday. So, Lord willing, I get to live to see it, man. It's going to be awesome. But we got some other big news in that arena, guys. Like I work for Marvel, I wish. But Marvel Studios has found their director for Avengers 5, the Kang Dynasty, in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings director himself, Destin Daniel Cretton. He's coming in to direct Avengers 5, The Kang Dynasty. They just announced this. The Hollywood Reporter, I believe, just reported on this either yesterday or today, but I believe it was yesterday. And that's pretty big news, guys. We finally have confirmation of who's going to be wrangling all this team together to bring us the next epic that is Avengers, man. And he's got a really big task ahead of him, man. He's got a lot of pressure on them shoulders going forward here, but I'm definitely rooting for him because as an MCU fanatic, you know I'll take anything they want to give me, and I'm always rooting for everything to turn out really well. But the really great thing is he does have a pretty good track record overall, and he has a great track record, especially with the MCU in Shang-Chi. That was a very great, or I would say, not great, but it was a very fun addition to the MCU. A really fucking good movie, though. Just short of great, in my personal opinion. Just short of it. If it had a little more originality to it and broke the Marvel formula just a little bit more, I think we would have had something truly great on our hands. But it's still, I would say, the strongest MCU film so far in Phase 4. I'm not including No Way Home in this discussion because it's technically a Sony movie as well. But if you're going to put No Way Home to the side for right now, I'm definitely putting Shang-Chi in the top spot of Phase 4 films. And almost my favorite project overall in Phase 4. So I'm very interested to see what Destin Daniel Cretton is going to bring to this film. And I'm rooting for him and think that he might be a great choice that we might not, as fans, have seen coming. You know what I'm saying? Because and it is a similar trajectory to the Russo brothers who did the previous Avengers films and the last Captain America installment, Civil War, back in 2016. And if y'all remember, back in 2014 when they did Winter Soldier, they were known for doing comedies like You, Me, and Dupree and goddamn Community over there on Comedy Central or wherever the hell that was on. So we had no expectations and didn't really know what to expect from those guys when they stepped in to do Captain America 2. They nailed it, knocked it out of the park, man. Willie Mays style, they called their shot, they hit that shit, and we out of here. So there you go. And it's a very similar trajectory. He just did a solo film for a character, and now he's moving on to do a big team up as they did with Civil War. Now, there was kind of a team up before the big epic team up of Avengers 3 and 4 in Infinity War and Endgame, but I still have a lot of faith in him to deliver an awesome movie. I'm not even sure really who I would have picked outside of the Russo brothers anyway, so I'm excited. I'm definitely very optimistic, and I always want to temper my expectations for these big things, but as y'all know, the big two-parter, the next big step in the Avengers storyline of Phase 6, the whole culmination of what is to come, starting with Fantastic Four, leading to that. I am so damn excited. Mine is blown. I can't wait to see all this crazy Phase 4 through 6 shenanigans in the MCU. But what says you? Do you think they should have went with a different director, filmmaker, what have you? Do you think this guy is a great choice? Do you think they should have got the Russo brothers back? And also, do you think there's still a chance that he doesn't end up doing it, that someone else ends up stepping up and taking on the job? Anything's possible in the world of Hollywood, especially, and in the world of entertainment. So definitely don't get too stuck on this one director yet. There's still 3 years to go. Anything can happen in between now and then. So we definitely got to keep our minds and our ears open and keep our word to the street and keep our ears to the streets. And you'll know what is up on What's the Word, y'all. But that is going to conclude our What's the Word segment for the show today. And we got a couple movie reviews to get into, y'all. This is going to be a little bit of a shorter installment. I just figured I'd squeeze these two movie reviews together and keep some more content here on the channel so we can keep it moving and get into some other things we're doing on the channel, like our View Askew review, Kevin Smith review series. Go check that out if you haven't already. We got a whole bunch of trailer reactions that just dropped on the channel as well. Shazam, Wakanda Forever, all kinds of stuff. Make sure you tune in for that. And we did a whole recap on the previous episode of the Fandom Frequency show. Episode 20 was the whole big Comic-Con recap. We talked about literally all the big announcements between Friday and Saturday's Hall H and smaller panels. So make sure you don't miss out on that as well. We have a review that just went up for Nope, Jordan Peele's latest movie. We got a lot of great content coming in on the channel, guys. So don't you be sleeping on any of that. Stay tuned and don't you sleep on any of that, guys. All right? Hashtag more cowbell. Let's keep this thing moving. And speaking of the Russo brothers, we're going to get into the Russo brothers' latest flick right here. Something they did for a big old whopping $200 million for Netflix, baby. The Gray Man, starring none other than Ryan Gosling of La La Land, Notebook, and one of my personal favorite movies out there in the last several years, The Nice Guys fame. Ryan Gosling leading this thing as Agent 6. And we got some great actors. We got a great cast for this thing, man. We got our boy Chris Evans coming back to play with the Russo brothers here as the main villain, Lloyd. And we got some great stuff going on there. And he's having a blast with this script, let me tell you. No one else is having fun with it, but this man sure as hell was. And we got some great up-and-coming actors and some great established actors of their own right as well. Ana de Armas plays one of the agents as well. She's awesome. I'm really digging all the choices she's making in her career right now. And every performance I've seen from her so far is really dope. And she's one of the main reasons as well I want to check out No Time to Die, because I'm not really a big James Bond fan. Never really discussed it here on the channel, but not necessarily it's not necessarily my cup of tea. It's not necessarily my forte. I dabble in it. I've watched a little bit of the Pierce Brosnan and stuff back in the day, but this is going to be definitely probably the first one I check out in full in a long time, No Time to Die. So I got that on my watch list, if you will. But Ana de Armas was really awesome in this thing, man. You got Rege Jean Page, I believe is his name. He's one of these newer up-and-coming actors that really blew up from that Shonda Rhimes Netflix show, Bridgerton, I believe it was called. And then you got a really young up-and-coming child actress. She was so awesome in Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. She was literally acting almost, not circles around him, but totally on par with his performance of Leo DiCaprio. This young actress, Julia Butters, was in this thing, and I absolutely enjoyed her here as well. You have legends in the game as well. Billy Bob Thornton up in here. You had even Gandolfini, Michael Gandolfini. You have the main guy from The Sopranos. His son's up in here. And Alfre Woodard pops in here for a quick minute. You got some great actors in this thing. And almost forgot about my girl, Jessica Henwick. She was up in here as well. And overall, this film is kind of a very generic spy thriller where you got Ryan Gosling's character, who's this agent that ends up going on this mission to take out one of his fellow agents that supposedly betrayed the agency, but he really finds out that he has this drive of encrypted information showing the corruption of the agency that they are working for, and he was trying to sell it to the highest bidder. Once Agent 6, Ryan Gosling, finds out what's going on with that, he takes the asset, as they call it, and goes on the run, goes AWOL. And Ana de Armas was also one of the agents that went on this job with him at the beginning of the film, and she ends up getting into the mix as well and becomes one of the suspects in him running away with the asset, and they end up sending out one of their other crazier guys from the private sector, as they call it, Chris Evans' character, Lloyd, to go get him by any means necessary, terminate him, get the asset, bring it back so no one else gets caught up and gets all their information leaked out to the public and whatnot. And like I said before, it's all a lot of very generic action spy thriller type stuff. Anyone that's around my age and older has seen this before, time and time again. There's nothing really new or anything really fresh to go into there. But overall, the action is really well done with this film. It may be a little too overblown and over the top at times, I will admit. But overall, I dug the action choreography, especially like the fighting choreography was really awesome. Really good stuff. They kept it very fresh, and depending on the environments they were in, there was some really good chases as well, some cool gunplay, and some really some pretty good dialogue as well. I like some of the banter going on back and forth, especially with Lloyd, Chris Evans' character. I really enjoyed that, and he always knows how to chew up the scenery as a douchebag type villain. So always love seeing him come into the mix, and and for the most part, the movie moves at a pretty good clip. It has pretty good pacing overall. I do think it does overstay its welcome a little bit towards the end. I think they could have got to him and to Chris Evans and Ryan Gosling's final showdown a little bit quicker. But overall, I was pretty satisfied with it. And like I said, with the actors, they all brought their A game. All the actors are good. They all do the best they can with the material they're given, which is just really generic, run-of-the-mill. We've seen it before. Not bad, not subpar, just very generic, and we've seen it before. You know what I'm saying? But very solid and very well-done performances for the most part, mainly from Chris Evans and Ryan Gosling, Anna de Armas, and Julia Butters. Those are really the actors that stood out, in my opinion. And John, what's his name? God damn it. Reg Jean Page, however you say his name, that guy was pretty good in his little villain part as well. But overall, I gotta say, the film's just okay, pretty good acting, pretty good action. Overall, it's a satisfying watch. It's the perfect movie to stream on a Netflix, on a Hulu, on whatever, HBO Max, whatever you want to call it. It's perfect thing to kick back with your friends, family, significant other, yourself, whatever. Kick back, turn it on, check it out. Nothing too major, nothing you have to check out right away, that's for sure. It's pretty good, I had a good time with it overall, but it is slightly forgettable, and I don't think it's necessarily going to stick with me in the same way as the year kind of goes on. So after thinking about it, after taking some careful consideration, even though it's a little bit generic, a little bit forgettable, not really sure if I'm going to remember too much about it as time progresses, but overall, I think I'll go ahead and give it a 7.0 out of 10, just a straight up 7 out of 10. It's solid, it's entertaining, it's a good action 90s throwback flick, It's a good time. I wouldn't have too much high expectations going into it, even with the people involved. I wouldn't go in with too high of expectations, and I think if you go in with tempered expectations, just looking for a good time, I think you'll have that. And for all my action movie aficionados and all my action movie buffs out there, this is definitely for you. I do recommend you go check it out. 7 out of 10 for me. But what says you? What you guys think about The Gray Man? Let me know in the comment section below. And just for those of you that don't know, that are just checking out this review on its own, make sure you check out our long-form podcast, The Fandom Frequency Show. We're on our 21st episode up until this point, and I'm literally recording that episode as we speak. So we got two pieces of content getting created at one time. We got a lot of stuff going on around here. Tons of great fandom, nerdy goodness. Click that subscribe button down below. Thanks for coming through if you're a first-time watcher, and if you've been here before, thanks for sticking around, and we'll catch you again next time. Stay tuned, don't sleep, and much love, y'all. But now, it is time to move on to the final and next topic of the show. Another film that I recently checked out over there on Apple TV, Apple TV Plus, whatever you want to call it. It's a little film, a little comedy, thriller, horror movie. I don't know what you want to call it, but it's called American Carnage, man. And I actually heard about this some time ago from YouTube or a podcast, something like that. But I did hear about this movie sometime earlier this year, late last year, and it just recently dropped on VOD and everything like that. Unknown directors and writers and things like that. So it's an independent film, you know what I'm saying? And essentially what the premise is really fucked up, I would probably assume Republican, just from the way they're kind of spinning it in the show. I mean, in the movie, because it's a very politically charged story, that's for sure. A very much about what's going on in the world today with immigration and things of that nature. And there's a governor in here who issues a surprise executive order to arrest all illegal immigrants and any of their kids or offspring, regardless of their legal status or if they were born in the U.S. or not. Not sure if that's necessarily realistic or not. I'm not the biggest political expert you're going to meet. Try not to get too deep into that shit because it's very depressing and very, very tribal these days. Don't really take a side. Don't really want to get all into that. We try to steer clear of that shit here on the channel. So moving right along here. But yeah, so this film's about that, and we got a bunch of these kids of illegal immigrants that end up meeting together, and they're played by some really good up-and-coming actors, namely Jenna Ortega up in this thing. She is quickly becoming one of the new scream queens of Gen Z, whatever you want to call it, of the modern times. She's quickly becoming one of the most talented up-and-coming actresses, but also one of the most kick-ass up-and-coming final girls, if you will, of the horror genre. And it's really cool to see her pop up in here. And, you know, you got some other up-and-comers here. JP, played by George Lendenborg Jr. You got another guy named Big Mac in the film, played by Alan Maldonado, another up-and-coming actor I had not seen previously to this movie. But I thought he was very funny, very engaging in this film. Same thing with Jenna Ortega. Very sarcastic, dry humor, very dark humor. I really liked her character a lot. Feel like I've met a girl like her in the past. You know, got a little bit of that punk rock style to her, but still very pretty. You know what I mean? Still plays into that feminine energy or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, and you know, you got some other up and coming actors in here, and yeah, the only one in here I'd really seen before isn't necessarily like a huge name, but just kind of a character actor I had seen before who does play the fucked up governor, Brett Cullen, and yeah. So you pretty much get these kids sent to this facility to take care of the elderly in order to get pardoned for the stuff and to be able to get their citizenship back and to go home and get back to their normal lives. They can go to this program and help out the elderly. So this group of characters ends up getting placed together randomly and ends up going to do so. And once they get there, they quickly realize there is a lot of weird shit going on. And a lot of weird shit definitely ensues. A lot of these old people that are here at the place actually turn out to be other kids that went through the same program and were aged up because of the serum stuff that they were injecting into them through the needles when they were sedating the patients or whatever. When the orderlies were, because the orderlies were, I just lost the word. They were drugging the patients and sedating them and injecting them with this weird shit that would end up aging them up as a weird side effect, and that worked into their favor because they could play it off like it was an elderly, like a old person's home. You know what I'm saying? And they would then turn these people of color into motherfucking meat for burgers, bro. They would turn them into ground beef for burgers, man. It's like Motel Hell mixed with like some new age type shit from like something, I don't know. But it reminds me of like this really like old school, like really fucked up B horror movie called Motel Hell, where this guy grew his own meat in a farm that was made from people that he would use to create this meat that he would sell to all these markets and businesses and all that kind of stuff. So this kind of reminds me of the same thing here, except in that original 80s B movie, they didn't have any of the political satire or political, or any of that political, more social satire or messages or themes going on in this movie. And this thing, from the premise and from what I've talked about so far, as you can see, is definitely playing into that. And as you know, the orderlies and the people that own this facility are obviously white, and the lawyer that sends them there is obviously white, and she's in on the shit. And that whole thing is crazy. And it's so crazy, too, because the main character that we kind of travel along the story with, JP, played by George Lendenborg Jr. once again, he comes in here with his sister, and his sister's actually about to go off to Columbia University. At the beginning of the film, she's about to go off to college, and they're having a big celebration to celebrate her send-off. And at that moment is when ICE invades their home and takes them, and they end up getting mixed into all this craziness. Him and his sister get separated very early on, and it's not revealed until much later in the film that she is this old lady at the facility that's been trying to get JP's attention this entire time. And at moments, she'll click in out of the Alzheimer's that kind of comes on from the aging up, and she'll start to remember who he is, but in other moments, she'll forget, right? So he doesn't really know this and doesn't really figure all this out until a lot of the other breadcrumbs along the trail are put together, and he's able to put this puzzle together and figure out what the hell is really going on here. And that whole element of the mystery of what was going on at this old person's facility or this elderly facility, I thought was very interesting and very compelling. And the way that they balance humor with the horror and with the suspenseful, more tense scenes in this film, 9 times out of 10 is very, very well done. Not a lot of films can really balance out that horror, comedy, and suspense all in the same time, and sometimes even within the same sequence. So I do want to give the filmmakers a lot of credit there. They definitely did a very great job with that element of the story, for sure. Now, I do really dig this movie and had so much fun with it. Overall, I like when the violence happens and when there is a little bit of that stuff going on. It isn't too gratuitous, but it's at least gritty enough to where it makes an impact. It makes you like, oh shit, you know. And there's some pretty crazy shit that does go down. But this isn't necessarily like a straight up horror movie with a lot of blood and guts and kills and things going on in that nature. This is much more of a thriller, much more of a comedy at the same time, much more of a comedic satire, if you will. So I would definitely go into it with that frame of mind. I wouldn't go into this expecting a lot of kills and blood and guts and gore and all that kind of stuff. This isn't a straightforward horror flick. It's definitely a little more deeper than that, a little more than that, because like I said, or like I've mentioned before in this review here, there is a lot of political messages and themes and things going on here in this film. It's very prevalent and in your face, and I think at times can be a little bit overdone at times. But for the most part, I do enjoy it and do think that most of the points they're trying to make are poignant and well put together. And for the most part, I can at least relate to and see what they're saying. It doesn't get in the way of the film and of the initial premise and of the initial scariness of being locked away somewhere and being treated like you're lesser than just for the particular race you happen to be, just for the particular culture and background you come from, you know, and seen as less than just because of what people believe is their home and all these imaginary borders that people draw and over time and as things have changed over the years and all that kind of stuff. So it's very interesting, a lot of the political themes and things that they're discussing in this film. Just at times it's a little heavy-handed, and at times the dialogue's a little corny and over the top with the way they want certain characters to be kind of dicks to the immigrants and whatnot. But overall, what they're trying to get out, the message overall, I thought is well done, but is just a little bit over the top at times. And the acting, though, very well done throughout the entire film, 99% of the time. I really liked all these young actors that were in this thing, especially Jenna Ortega, of course, and George Lendenborg Jr., where he had to do some real emotional scenes, and he had to hit the comedy, the action, the horror, and all that stuff, and he really hit everything so well. So I want to give a lot of love to that guy. Hadn't really seen him do a lot of things, so I'm definitely hoping to see him do even more in the future, and really liked his work here. And as I've mentioned before, and I think a lot of you people that are familiar with genre films that come around here and are familiar with the world of the Fandom frequency know that Jenna Ortega is such a blossoming star right now. She kicks so much ass in Scream 5. I heard she was really good in Studio 666, and she was also very good in another film that came out this year, X. Very good in that film, and all these parts are so different from each other, and I think she has so much range as a young actress right now, and I have so much faith and optimism for her future as well, and thought she was very good and had a lot of charisma and just brought so much to life with her character where there wasn't a lot of deep development there with that character. I thought she brought so much to the character with her screen presence and with her overall delivery of the dialogue and just her performance in general. It was just so well done. I really dug Jenna Ortega in this thing. And like I said, all the young actors and all the actors all around, really good stuff. I love the really stylistic way that the director made this film, and I really dug that. And like when filmmakers get more stylistic and do different things with their films, it makes it more engaging and interesting to watch. And even when the film may not be necessarily doing anything revolutionary or anything we haven't seen before, those kind of stylistic choices in the editing and in the way that the film's put together and presented to us, I think goes a long way in giving the film its own identity and making it stand apart from the billions and billions of films that have came out over the course of the last 100 or so years, right? So it's pretty crazy stuff in and of itself right there. But overall, I really liked the story. I thought the story got a little bit far-fetched and a bit over the top by the end, and they kind of overstayed their welcome and probably could have trimmed a few minutes off the movie just to get the pacing across in the third act a little bit better. And there was a few too many conveniences towards the end, but I was able to let it go because I got the happy ending for the characters that I personally was looking for in this horrifying scenario. So overall, It's a very solid film. I had such a great time with it overall. I had a really good time with it. It's really well done for the most part. I don't think it's necessarily anything revolutionary or great, but it's definitely a really fun genre film. And if you're into that type of stuff, I think this is definitely for you. And I think for my fellow people of color, you're definitely going to resonate with this story in a different way than I think other folks will. So I definitely recommend this one. I'm going to give this one a good old 7.75 out of 10. After thinking about it and discussing it here in this review, I do kind of see that I did enjoy it a little bit more than I initially might have thought when I just finished the film. But overall, it's really, really fun, man. I can't recommend American Carnage enough. If you have Apple TV Plus or any way to rent it or check it out, I really do recommend checking this thing out. I was actually doing a free trial of Apple already to check out a couple documentaries and a couple films, so that ended up working out for me. I got that week-long trial, so by the time y'all done seen this, and we're moving on to the next installment of the Fandom Frequency Show, my trial will have ended, but much love to all of you out there. Thank you for checking out this latest installment of the Fandom Frequency Show. Just the last time we had our longest episode yet, and I think this will be our shortest episode yet of the Fandom Frequency Show podcast. So, a little bit of yin to the yang right there, baby. So, thank you for checking out this latest episode. We have so much great content to come. Our Kevin Smith View Askew review series is going to be having an installment drop every week or so until Clerks 3 in September. So make sure you stay tuned and don't sleep on any of that dopeness, guys. Hashtag more cowbell. Click subscribe, click the like, click download on the podcast feed. Much love to all of you. And until next time, guys, peace.